Hi, my name's Gareth Griffiths. I'm a sculptor from Leeds. With my work, I try and not emulate making a piece of architecture. What I try and do is try and take some influence, so take an element from the buildings. The colours are chosen for the artwork via the buildings themselves. So looking at the neon lights which surround the buildings were purposely made to be bright and colourful to draw people in. So that's what I want to try and emulate with my sculptures. These small sculptures, these are my maquettes, and these are all 3D printed. Whenever I start a sculpture, I create a design in CAD drawings and I 3D print them. I find it a modern way of creating maquettes without having to spend so much time in the studio. And it gives me a chance to play about with colour as well then, and see the piece. And if wanted, the customer or client can actually have a 3D print to have their approval too. Googie architecture first appeared back in the 40s, 50s, when the automobile industry was piling billions of dollars into the infrastructure of roads and motorways, so driving cars away from towns. So to try and bring people back into the towns and villages, they've decided to build buildings that would attract their attention. I first came across Googie architecture back in the late 80s, early 90s, when I first went to America to see Dad when he was coaching football. We used to visit him as a family, and just came across these buildings which I saw in movies. Never seen anything like that in this country before. Bright neon lights, geometric shapes, buildings which looked like they were falling from the sky rather than being built up from the floor. Something I'd seen previously on something like the Jetsons cartoons or something like that. If I could suggest one place to go see Googie architecture, we go to Los Angeles and go and eat at Norm's. There's a few Norm's around Los Angeles. It's a 24-hour diner and it's quite famous in Los Angeles, especially for the architecture. This is based on Googie architecture. It's very simple, square, curved from point to point, and repeated the same piece. And this was a commission for a client that was down in Harpenden, and instead of colour we actually decided to go for Corten steel in this one. So they wanted that rust look for the piece. It's fantastic working with a designer brand like Marina Rinaldi. Looking at the fashion that she makes, the colours that they use, I can see a huge influence in how my work complements their designs. I think it'd be a fantastic fit for their townhouse in London. To have this opportunity to work alongside a world brand fashion designer is fantastic. It's just an honour to have my pieces alongside their garments. Because I use geometric shapes and panels, it's almost like a garment within itself. To build a garment, you use panels, you sew them together. I use panels within my work and weld them together, so I hope people can see the relationship between the two. My work in the future, I could see going a lot larger. My vision is to create some large public pieces and just recreating these sculptures, but a lot larger. I see a lot of the work that I do now as maquettes for large pieces, and especially the way that buildings are and city centres are. I can see them being a perfect spot for anywhere. I want people to go away thinking about my work in a way of where my work was influenced, so go and maybe look up Googie architecture, look at how the collaboration between the fashion brand and my work, how they relate to each other, and hopefully to just go and look at my website and look at my work in general. When I'm not a practicing artist, I enjoy time with my family. I enjoy time with my 6-year-old. I'm the football manager for the under 7s team, so I do an awful lot of that. I also love surfing. So if I'm not in the studio and the waves are good, you can catch me over in Saltburn catching some waves. I'd like to influence the artist of the future by seeing my work and going out and experiment as much as they can. Try and take influence from wherever. It could be a childhood cartoon that they once saw. It could be a building they once saw when they were younger. but experiment and practice and just have some fun. My work currently, there's been permanent work on display in Macau. So there's a brand new hotel in Macau called the Londoner. There's 3 large sculptures on permanent display there, so if you're lucky enough to go to Macau, go and check it out.